Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a flesh and blood podcast breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Abby, Jordan, and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Flesh and Pod. This is your host, Abby. Logan and Jordan are with me here today. So how are you guys doing? What'd you guys do in Flesh and Pod last week?
What did I do? Oh, I played I played Blitz on Thursday, on our regular Thursday night. I got to see a player playing Levia, of all things, in Blitz. Get hit, swing for a bunch, and just have the Oldham player across from them just go, yeah, we'll take it. And it was the Ralph Wiggum meme at that point in time of just, I'm in danger.
Yeah.
Because what happened after that was a Awakenings for 6.
Okay.
So 6 seismic surge tokens.
Only small.
Tutoring up red glacial footsteps.
Big boy.
So that got played for free and pummeled. The game ended there. Now, granted, the Oldham player's first turn of the game was a swing for 21. So in a 20 life format, that ate all the equipment and all the cards out of the Levia player's hand to block 18 of it.
Yeah. I would like to 21 you, and then 2 turns later, I am going to 14 you, and you get 2 cards.
Right, we're just going to come in again. So that was unique and fun to watch. I was just playing a non-tuned version of Chain. We typically keep the Thursdays pretty lax. We're trying to get new players into the game. We've had quite a few new players, so it feels good. But that was fun to watch.
That's awesome. And so the free Glacial Footsteps was probably fused because, it's free, so you have all these cards in your hand.
No, because so it was an Oldham that was built 5 minutes before the event started, really. Maybe a little longer than that, but not with much concern to synergies. And so it was mostly earth cards and no ice, or very little ice. So there's no fusion here. It was just take it.
Just 14 you figure it out. Yeah.
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 Awesome. Okay.
Jordan, what about you?
Yeah. I started the week off. I played in a skirmish, I think is what they're called. Is that just like the weekly thing your store can buy a kit for?
Armory.
Armory. Okay. Played in an Armory event on Tuesday. I played Bravo and went 0-3. That was a feel good.
Bravo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I played against Katsu and Dorinthia were 2, and the Rune Blade that combos you out, and she's slipping my mind. Viscerai, yeah. So those were my 3 matchups, and I don't like decks that go wide as Bravo, obviously. They're very challenging for the Bravo player to, ever do anything next.
Was this Blitz, or was this CC?
Classic Constructed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Classic Constructed. I also, so full disclosure, I had lied to you last week, Logan, actually. And to all of our listeners.
Really?
I didn't know that I had lied, but I did lie. We have not been playing for 6 months. It has been barely 3. If it's been 3, we started playing when Tales of Aria released. I had a friend, Nick and Derek, came up to me at this Armory event, and they said, "Oh yeah, Jordan, have you been playing for 6 months?" And I went, "Excuse me?" And they were like, "Yeah, I mean, what's it been like playing for 6 months?" I really didn't get what the bit was, but they were like, "You have not been playing for 6 months. You've been playing for maybe 12 weeks." And I was like, "Oh my god, okay, that A makes me feel a lot better because I'm trash." So
well, and B, thanks for listening.
Yeah. B, thank you for listening. And C, so I wanted to apologize for being a liar and imparting lies on my great house.
I'll have to stop and consider that for a while, and if and what that calls for in the standing of me in this show. But I'm pretty sure I can get over it.
That's good. That's excellent of you. Thank you.
I don't like you tainting my name with your lies.
You acquiesced in your silence, so.
Yeah, I assumed that you knew for sure.
Oh, wow.
Just know that we've played some. I don't know, man.
So we can just accept that there is an outrageous amount of taint, and we're going to go from there.
God. Yes, we are going to go from there. I did not like playing against Katsu and Dorinthia. I never played against Dorinthia before. period, like flat out ever. So I kind of had some learning curves with like combat tricks and that kind of stuff that took me by surprise. And that's just on me for like not exploring that. But Katsu Man is so annoying because they could have their big go off turn basically, kind of in any second with their on hit triggers. That I got really behind as the Bravo player trying to like stop that stuff. And then what's her name again? I'm blanking again, Logan. What's
Viscerai.
Viscerai, thank you. Goodness, I knew that. And then Viscerai, he played very well. He didn't go for any one-turn kills, played a lot of like hit you with 5 tokens and this big attack that I really just got outclassed. It also didn't help that my brain decided to stop functioning in that match. In my head, Pummel cost 1 mana, and that's not true. It cost 2. And I could not, for whatever reason, play in my turn around Pummel having 2 mana. I constantly was like, all right, do all these things, attack you. I was like, yeah, no blocks. Do you have any reactions? I was like, for sure. Wait a minute. I can't cast the spell that was the cornerstone of this attack. Damn it. And it happened like 5 times. And so I did stand a chance. But it was just kind of one of those things. But all that to say, I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun getting out of the house. And now, with some announcements that we're going to talk about later, I'm more motivated than ever to play because we have some reasons. But that's what I got into. Ab, what'd you get into this week?
I sorted cards for about 8 hours this week. It was thrilling.
I will fully cop to the fact that my least favorite part of Flesh and Blood is sorting the cards.
I love it. I'm also very good at it, which Jordan's not. So
I'm not at all good at it.
It's very bad. I basically just run circles around him while we do it. We had like quite a backlog that we really needed to get done, and I am currently in the middle of my busy season at work, so my hours are kind of all over the place. So I came home and sorted cards because I knew I couldn't go to like an event because I'd never get off on time, but I could come home and start getting that in order so that we don't have cards just everywhere.
So I'm gonna probably guess that Jordan and I's problem with sorting Flesh and Blood is the same, where we sorted Magic stuff for so long that we just look at the card alphabetically and like, okay, yeah, cool, this goes here. And then it's like, oh, is this red, yellow, or blue? And it's like, oh, go fuck yourself, red, yellow. Come on. Why are these
red,
different
yellow,
names?
blue? It stresses me out from like a collection management perspective where, I have 30 yellow copies of this card, but I have 2 red. So now I need to go online and buy a common because I own 40 copies, but not the right colors.
Right.
No, even just like the raw, like putting Ninja in its own pile and Guardian in its own pile and like Warrior in its own pile. Abby can do like a row of like one of the long cardboard boxes before I get through like a handful. It's absurd. Like, I'm so bad at it.
I had to adjust the way that I thought of things, and I started sorting them by recognizing the borders. So I didn't have to look at types.
The worst part, man, is I know that. I'm just bad.
Yeah, no, he's aware.
Okay, well, I tried to help.
I don't have an excuse. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's no out for me. That's basically it.
That's fair.
Yeah, no, it's sad. It's sad. It's not pretty watching it.
No, all right.
Yeah, every aspect of it, like alphabetizing it, I can't do. Like organizing red, yellow, blue, I can't do fast. Like it's absurd the way my brain is like, no, we're not going to do this basic task quickly.
So we're just insect braining the entire thing and nothing.
Top to bottom. Yeah, top to bottom. Like right. What a hobby, you know?
Well.
All right, moving on. So, big exciting news. Definitely happened because of us. Definitely all us. We have ProQuest dates and events coming out for the Pro Tour that will be happening in 2022. So we have 4 in Ohio so far that Jordan's brought up.
I want to say we have 3 in Ohio so far.
Yeah, we're still a little lacking in Iowa, but clearly, correlation does equal causation. So there's no coincidence that the day after we release our first episode, we see these events starting to get scheduled. It's clearly us and our immediate impact.
I completely agree. I mean, anyone that knows anything about science can tell you that we are the reason these ProQuests come out yet. Like Dr. Fauci even wrote a paper that basically said, yeah, Flesh and Pod is the reason that these Pro Tours are out.
I read that. It was quite stirring. But
it was great, yeah.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I do. My only gripe, if I have one, is that it seems like the quote unquote season is super short. And
it is less than a month, right?
Yeah, like right at a month.
February 19th to March 13th, I think is what I saw, or something like that.
Yeah, or 22nd
3 weeks
or something.
Yeah,
it's not very long. It's just, and I'm used to, again, we came from Magic. This is going to be said 1,000 times, but when our seasons, like the Magic seasons back in the day, were, 3 months typically.
Right.
So it's very compressed, but there's good and bad with it. I guess the good being that you're not quite at such a risk of walking into a 200 person ProQuest, because they're going to be going on at the same time in roughly the same geographic areas. So it's not going to be as grinder centric.
Definitely true. Like at the end of the traditional PTQ lifespan in Magic, you would have 200, 300, 400 player PTQs.
Absolutely.
Especially here in the Midwest area. And just because there would only be one a weekend. So, or, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday. And there's less incentive to like drive like the 8 hours to go like spike a soft one. And like, there's a lot of good reasons to, for this system, but it does feel truncated. It is exactly 3 weeks in a day is the season qualifier.
Yeah, that's I don't want to come off like somebody who is complaining about something that we were begging for, but it seems like, okay, I mean, ideally you'd want to just play all 3 weekends, probably both days, unless you win one. And then for some people, I wish we'd have known about this maybe even like 2 weeks ago, as I started planning things into February already. But this is, I'm just glad to have it. I'm glad to know that they're out there. I'm happy to see that they're being run as more interesting events. There are some being run just as 1Ks, some being run with, big prizes at the top with like, I know there's a couple that are being run with like, a fabled, plus for prizes at the top. And
that's really cool.
Yeah. And the gold foils. I think that it's pricing wise, it's super cool and with a lot of incentive to play.
Yeah, the one that we were using as our sample to look at from the one in St. Louis, Forge and Fire Gaming. That's a 1K. They're raffling away playmats and boxes and booster boxes, that is, and like cold foils, and like these do feel like their own little mini GPs, I guess. Like they feel like they're going to be really cool events that I'm excited for the community to get to experience this part of it now.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in talking with community members and getting their experiences and talking about them on the show, even just collecting how'd this go where you were at, and how'd this run where you were at, and finding some of those best practices and kind of creating that web so that people can really harness those best practices, and we can keep making the tournaments better and better run and what people want. I think that this is fantastic. Again, just a great step by LSS again.
And it looks like the prices are pretty even across the board, because this Forge and Fire one that you guys were talking about is $30, and the Columbus ones are $30. So that's a good, like you were talking about, establishing a baseline. That's a good thing that we've already seen stores start to establish right out of the gate. I wonder if that's LSS driven.
It is.
Is it? Okay.
LSS does set pricing maxes for these tournaments.
Gotcha. Okay. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot too.
Yeah. So, per the website, the 15th at 5 p.m. is the latest that a store can register for an event. So by the end of this week, every store that's registered should be putting out that information.
Okay, so we should see the entire schedule by the end of this week at the latest.
Yep.
Okay.
Good. Okay, that's pretty cool, and that helps you plan. My only gripe is that these aren't transferable to other PTs. So like Pro Quest Season 1 qualifiers only qualify you, excuse me, for Pro Tour 1, and that's only a problem just because We don't know what date that is yet. So like,
all right.
yeah, right. Like a person could look at their calendar and go, oh, like that's when I'm in school, so this isn't going to work, unless it's on spring break, or like this won't work until it's summer. But now you've kind of have to play in these events and then maybe just like burn a PT event. Now, if they're all going to be 1Ks, you're not going to be sad about going and winning your tournament, getting a PT invite, and walking away with like $600
and a gold foil.
And like, a gold foil. Yeah. Like, and another $1,000.
Right.
So, like, it's not bad, only in so much as I would like to renew our gripe from last week that more dates and or communication would be great. And since we know that we do cause these things, I expect them to happen.
And also maybe a deferral policy for when there are circumstances beyond players' control for attending a Pro Tour they qualified for.
That would be great. Yeah, like even just like a +1 system. Like, hey, like we can't give you this for the whole year. We can't give it to you 2 from now because of like just financial planning for that is kind of tough and logistical planning.
Yep.
But we can offer you the next one if it's for a set reason. And I even get the thing of, hey, maybe some standard formats or constructed formats are going to be poor, and we don't want people skipping the bad ones because that would look bad, right?
Yeah, it's a bad optic, yeah.
Yeah, so like I can even just get behind the reasons why that would exist. I just want some kind of flexibility for if you spike one of these.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely. We're also expecting a band list this week. I believe that's supposed to come out, Tuesday?
Tuesday, the day that this podcast comes out. So we get to talk about this and then have it this conversation completely invalidated. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be something from Briar, right? That they're targeting Briar.
I think so too. I
think you have to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
If you look at, and I had posted this in our Discord, so anybody that wants to see, if you look at the Living Legends points, people who have been playing long enough remember how oppressive Chain was to the point that it got Seeds of Agony banned, all 3 colors, just to level set, and also pre-banned Duskblade before it ever was released in Tales of Aria. And Chain is sitting at 442 Living Legends points, and Briar, who came out at the same time roughly as that Seeds of Agony ban, is at 400. So 3 months.
Wild.
Yeah, that's a lot. So the something has to give. I think I understand. I totally understand that. It's what's it going to be? What's enough? I guess is the question.
Yeah, I don't know. We talked a lot about you and I off podcast world about like, is Rosetta Thorn an option? I know that you kind of have it in your arsenal as possibly. I don't think so, just because it's a token, and that would be like a really weird step, just from like a yikes position,
Yeah.
Plunder Run is really powerful. It is like a cornerstone of the deck, but I don't know if the deck still runs without it. It probably does. So is that enough? Is like a Plunder Run enough? Is any one thing enough? Like, you're not going to ban your generics, right? Like, you're not banning Command and Conquer, E-Strike, Snatch, things like that.
But none of those are fun. None of those are what makes the deck hum.
Right.
And you think of Plunder Run, like I consider when we talked about Plunder Run, I started thinking like, what else can you do? I mean, the card draw effect from Plunder Run is obviously the thing that is the most egregious,
right?
Yeah, right. But it's like it can be kind of replaced by Captain's Call, and there are other 0 non-attack action options. I wish that this was announcement of an errata because I think that that's better than a ban personally.
Do you want to get in a fist fight with me over that? Because I will fight you to the death over that thing. God, that'd be a terrible pay-per-view. We'd be out of breath and like tired and asking for beer and like 10 seconds.
It'd be each of us attempting our finisher and then rest hold for the rest of it.
Exactly. Or like I would mess up the punch and actually hit you and then apologize for 20 minutes and then
Yes.
After you picked yourself up, because I would just give you the receipt. Like we're not messing around at that point.
Yeah, right. Like we've now committed violence. Yeah. The only reason I hate erratas in the context of a printed card game is the cards should do what they say they do bit. And like I would rather them just like ban it and then print like a functionally fixed version later than errata a card. Like Ella, not Ella. I was like keep getting confused today. FFG did that in L5R. They errated cards. Like Hawk Tattoo was an example. If you know that game, for anybody listening that does, and that was like confusing. Like now this card that I have in my deck doesn't do what it says it does. Now I have to convince my opponent I'm not lying. You know, and so there's kind of like a clash there.
Let's draw a line here, because when I'm talking about errata,
oh, you're not talking about errata like Plunder Run, like make
to distribute or whatever. But like have to be on hit rather than on damage that can fix the embodiments, or fix Thorn, where it's if you've played an elemental non-attack action and an elemental attack action, this deals 2 arcane damage.
Sure.
Narrow it, but I think that your only option for doing any kind of errata has to be in the tokens. Like I completely agree with you on errataing cards that you open in packs to play.
Gotcha. Okay, then I can be on board with that. Yeah, maybe Rosetta Thorn doesn't even attack. Maybe it's not even a sword. You know, maybe maybe it's just, hey, if you do this, deal 2 arcane damage, and like you lose the attack thing. That might be too strong.
That's a lot. Yeah, I think that takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of what the deck can do. But
counterpoint, that is the idea.
No, I get it. I really do. It's also weird to me that that Briar's ability is the only one that doesn't require any of its element to be effective. Because for Oldham's ability, it has to be either Earth or Ice. For Lexi's, it has to be Lightning or Ice. For Briar, it can be just any fucking thing you want it to be.
Yeah, that's actually really true. I didn't even notice that lack of parity.
Yeah, they should just probably just ban Runeblade and just start over. But I think we're too far down the rabbit hole for that one. But
I think that is the main class of Flesh and Blood at this point.
Yeah, they have a real hard time balancing Runeblade.
And it's really cool. Like it operates in a really cool space, but maybe that's just because it's absurdly powerful. Yeah. You know, I tried to look into like none of the equipment are the problem. Like, you know, I tried to think outside the box with this. Like Grasp of the Arknight's not a problem in this deck. Tunic and Skullcap aren't, you know, worth looking
no
at.
more than it is anywhere else.
Right. Skullcap's probably not even that great. It's just like the best option we have in the head slot. Maybe that's a broader conversation for another day. I don't know. Plunder Run is like the card on my mind. I'm looking at this list. Ball Lightning. What do you think about Ball Lightning?
Oh, I'm trying to think of, you know, what can you do that doesn't take the piss out of other decks, right?
Sure. I mean, that's true. That's tough, yeah.
Ball Lightning's a pretty big cornerstone of like a Lightning Lexi list, where they want to be playing Ball Lightning. And so you're then neutering a deck that isn't a problem.
It's not even doing anything on its own, right? Yeah.
Right. So that's the problem with Ball Lightning. Like Plunder Run, it doesn't really invalidate another deck to my knowledge or to my thinking. It does. I mean, it hits Ninja a bit, both in Blitz and in CC, but not so hard that it's unplayable. I don't think.
Right, and I think maybe like, you know, Ninja is one of those decks that might need the post Briar banning tune. You know, like it is the number 3 deck on that Living Legends power ranking.
Yeah.
Table. So maybe it's okay if that also takes a little wind out of its sails as we get to that point. I don't know though. That's a good point in terms of downstream effects, where your errata situation for the tokens could actually just be
the answer
form. Yeah. Now, what does Rosetta Thorn do to like Viscerai?
I mean, good question. Viscerai didn't really. I mean, it needs to lean on a weapon that attacks for 1, honestly, because it's just trying to pop Runechant tokens.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't really care. I mean, like the 2 arcane from it is like
nice.
cheddar, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I guess it's just cheddar. It's not like why you're playing it. I don't know. Ab, do you have any ideas?
I mean, not that we haven't talked about. Obviously, the Runeblade is where the cards, like the ban list, needs to start. They're clearly the most powerful. Not close to really anyone else. So I'm curious to see what they do to kind of knock them back into the playing field with everyone else.
Yeah, and have been since Monarch was released. So,
What other archetypes could be on the chopping block, do you think?
if you look at the list, you have
Mechanologists for sure.
yeah, mech. Yeah, Dash is at a hot 120, which is the end of where anything is over 100 living legend points. So it goes Chain at 442, Briar at 400, and you drop all the way to 294 for Katsu, and then you drop all the way again to 178 for Prism. And then we have some Bravo at 148, Bolton's pretty close at 140, Dash at 120, and then everything else is sub 100 with our personal favorites, Levia and Azalea, bringing up the back with 0. Literal 0.
Actual nothing.
Yeah.
That's actually nuts to me. Just from like a pure like, I mean, they need help. I don't even think bannings of other things help them. They need direct help.
No, with Azalea specifically, with Ranger specifically, not having an actual weapon is such a detriment. Because keeping one card in hand, nothing in arsenal, means that you do nothing that turn. You can't swing with this bow. That's not how it works. So it makes the play pattern way more difficult. You have to take just more on the chin on a regular basis. It is super difficult for a Ranger to kind of get over, and that's why Lexi sitting at 40 living legend points is largely off of Lexi's ability and not necessarily the bow's abilities. So
sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess we have Everfest coming up. We have a lot of different things going on. There's plenty of time, right?
Yeah, I also love that Kano is, I think, 26 points on this list, and almost all of them came from Italian nationals.
Really?
Because the Kano player that won it went XO. Did not drop patch. So
I assume this is the case. Are all tournaments weighted equally based on like their classification, or does like the amount of players in that tournament affect how many? Like chain winning like North American nationals with 500 players, for example. I know that's not what happened, but that weighs heavier in my mind than Kano winning Italian nationals with maybe like 60 players. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe it's based in round wins of professional level events. Or something along those lines. I really don't know exactly, and I would have to look into it. Or if one of our listeners just wants to hop in our Discord and tell us we're stupid and fix us, that'd be great.
That's right. We'll add that to the correction corner for next week.
Yeah, do we have one this week? Because I think that we stayed clean outside of Jordan just being a flat out liar. Yeah.
Oh, this looks like there's lots of different ways champions get points that I didn't even consider. So. And they do seem that wins are flat amount of points. So, like winning a constricted calling gives you 100 points regardless of whatever. Winning a national championship gives you 40 points regardless of anything else. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and then does ProQuests factor into there?
I believe they do. You also get points for season skirmish events and road to nationals as well.
Okay, because that would explain a lot of train.
Right. It just once a deck is popular, it'll start to accrue points, and that makes sense because if a deck is so ubiquitous, it needs to go at some point. Skirmishes, Pro Quests, and PTIs, Road to Nationals, National Champs, Pro Tours, Worlds, and Callings all add points. So
maybe if we just wait out the storm, Briar and Shane will both be retired fairly quick, and then we can just have a new game.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting is, do you think it's bad that maybe 2 champs are halfway done and we've really had a year of competitive play? Do you think LSS envisioned that?
No, I mean, no, there's no way.
Right. Living Legend seems like it's supposed to be like a long haul, like,
right.
You know,
it to me, and I know that they've kind of said some things, or I think they've said some things to the contrary of this, but I feel like this is a how do you put this the best way? This is a natural way to build a legacy or eternal format down the road, where
Sure.
All cards are legal, including Living Legends.
Sure.
And to basically make it so you have more options, because to me most games die because they run out of runway, either with money or design space. And most of the time it's both. But in this regard, they're kind of giving themselves some opportunities to mulligan some of these characters that are too good by printing a version of them later on after they've been retired that isn't as busted. But also leaving the opportunity for those characters in their in their god forms to be playable in a different format 3, 4, 5 years from now. So yeah, I think that this is quite brilliant, honestly, and if something's oppressive, it bans itself. Great.
I mean, I think you're right. Like, I really don't have anything else to say other than I do think it's like a dope idea. And you wonder if like other hero based games could do that, or you wish Magic had a system like that. Like, okay, this deck has won 3 GPs in a row. We don't need to wait for a banning. Like, let's move it along. So I'm excited by that. I'm excited for Living Legends only tournaments where you have options, but you just play chain. Like, that'll be fun. Or like the first one is chain and Briar are the only ones in there, so you just like chain v Briar all day. But yeah, I'm excited about the options.
I can't imagine a chain with Seeds of Agony that gets to play Duskblade. Like, just get off my lawn. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. I was teaching someone how to play the game, as a quick aside, and they played a Seeds of Agony, and they were like, wait, this card is Blood Debt, and like I can play it from my Banish Zone?
Yep, sure can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're like, so I'm going to play this one that's in my Banish Zone too. I was like, oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, but I have another one in here. I was like, oh yeah, keep it going, buddy. Yeah, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, so then I'm going to attack you with this card, and it just does like 5 arcane, like right on top. I was like, oh yeah, yes sir, -5 right off the life total. Yeah. He goes, this card's legal. I was like, no.
Nope.
Yeah. That deck, that intro deck is not okay anymore.
Nope. I think the first time I really recognized it was I had such flips that I had flipped 3 total cards into my graveyard with Soul Shackle, and my draw was such with an Arsenal Eclipse that on turn 2 I cast Eclipse. And so on turn 2 I just have an Urser. We're just doing this. And my opponent's like, I can't win. Like, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, like that's why I did this.
Right.
You're dead now.
It's over.
Yeah. Well, I guess it'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, it's I coming from a game where banned and restricted discourse is exhausting. It's kind of nice to have one where it doesn't feel exhausting.
Yeah, it's actually really weird to just be like, hey, whatever happens, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Sounds
right.
Great. Yeah.
Yep. So before we move on to the Reddit thread of the week, we just want to thank everyone. We had a really good response on the first week. Reddit, YouTube, Discord, maybe Twitter, all of the platform podcasts. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback. We've gotten a lot of reviews and a lot of listens, so we're really appreciative for it. We're really looking forward to growing this show and growing as players and helping grow our communities. So thank you. Please reach out with questions, comments, concerns, and we will certainly take a look and listen to those. So for our Reddit thread of the week, it will be tagged in the show notes, just like last week. Long story short, this person went to their first skirmish event. Was hoping to be a competitive player, but they were not prepared for the time limit or level of the competition. And then the comment was, maybe I just need to get good, but the event left me feeling like the time limit mechanic sucks, and the game would be better if each player had a time clock independent of their opponent, like in speed chess. What are your thoughts?
This thread was fun. So behind the scenes thing, I source these out because I spend all day on Reddit because I'm a loser, and the responses to this thread were really diverse, and the situation here is really interesting. And I thought that's why it's particularly fun. A little more detail into the event. His first couple of rounds, or I should say their first couple of rounds, excuse me. They played a little bit slowly, felt like they were behind the gun a long time. And then later in the day, when they were playing less experienced opponents, they felt like their opponent held them back. And that kind of created a little bit of that clash that kind of like, well, now that I have a handle on this, I can't overcome the time constraint. And earlier I felt like I couldn't overcome the time constraint from the other side. And there's a lot of stuff in here about that. And the thing I'm mostly interested in talking about is whether chess clocks and card games would work. But I don't think so. But
no.
But I wanted to. I guess there's a lot here from a variety of different viewpoints.
So the beginning of the feel bad in this for me is, and I understand why, like to get that out of the way, but a draw in Flesh and Blood is a loss for both players.
Yep, for sure.
Basically any other game, wins are 3 points, draws are 1 point, losses are 0 points, so it's not the end of the world. However, that begins the process of IDs, intentional draws, and it kind of starts up down a rabbit hole of collusion, bribery, a bunch of other things that we've seen in spades, playing in card games for as long as we have. So that's part of the problem here. I will personal recollection, Fort Worth Calling. I didn't think that my deck was great, and I got into round 2 against. I was playing Oldham. They were playing Briar. They were playing very slow. I was in a winning position, and they were taking incredibly long on their turns. I tried to speed them up, but was much too late in asking them to speed up. And it turned into a draw when my next turn is, they're fatigued. My next turn is a win. And they said, oops, I guess it's a draw then. And I'm like, yep, that's okay. And I wound up 4-2-1 in that calling. So missing the cut because of the draw. That's on me. I should be calling a judge when I see that the play is too slow. I should be asking my opponent to speed up as soon as I see them playing as slowly as they are, which I did the next round. And we still it still went 2 turns, and I had to defeat my opponent on my turn of turns. It's a 1 turn thing. So maybe there's a couple solutions that help with this. Maybe it's you increase the number of extra turns. Maybe it's the pace of play is more roundly enforced in general. But the last thing I want is to get rid of is to adjust the time constraint or introduce even more mechanical things to do in a card game that is already mechanically focused. I don't want chess clocks. I don't want to be thinking about pushing this button and also making sure that I put my counters on my equipment and also close the combat chain and also put cards on the bottom. Like there's so many mechanical things that you do just manually with your hands in a Flesh and Blood game. I don't want to add anything to that personally.
That's where I'm at with that, and I'll let you go back to that in a second. There's so many times you pass priority in this game. Do I chess clock you? So I cast the spell chess clock you because technically you have priority. Chess clock me back. All right, chess clock you because I have the ability to react during your blocker step. There's just so many small steps where technically it's your turn, even though it's my turn. And then you get into like the physical mechanics of do I need to use the chess clock when I'm putting dice on my equipment or whatever that you were talking about? So anyway, sorry to interject. I just think it is so complicated. Anyway, go back to what you're saying.
No, that was largely my thoughts were. I think that the biggest thing for me is I'd like them to introduce instead of one turn, maybe it's three, something like that, so that if there was some kind of deficiency with a newer player or whatever, not knowing what how this worked or having to think through things longer, there's still opportunity to end the game. But the last thing I want to see is the introduction of something else mechanical.
And I think that comes down to like what we add comes down to like the tournament perhaps that we're in. Like in your local store event, adding 2 extra turns does not increase the round time that drastically.
No.
Done across a large calling, it probably does. And hey, if you're playing in this competitive rel event, or I think it's just professional rel in Flesh and Blood, you probably should be aware or be held to the standard that you're aware. And if your opponent is slower than you would like you said, the onus is on you to call a judge and move it along. That's where I fall down on that as well. I like the idea of chess clocks, like in things like Magic Online or whatever. It's very easy when it's done by itself, but like you said, when you as the player have to start manipulating it, it gets very clunky. It's very clunky.
And the thing that's always been the case with any game that requires a judge and a social interaction, there are some people that feel like calling a judge is a bad thing. It reflects negatively on somebody, and that's just that I guess stigma has existed for a very long time, and a lot of times because that stigma exists, that's where you get people who will sort of exploit that stigma when it's like, well, I think we need to call a judge here. No, we don't need to call a judge when they're obviously cheating or scumming you in some way.
Right.
And so the biggest thing is, erase the stigma. Calling for a judge isn't a big thing. It's not a big deal. It's not a bad thing. It's just to make sure that everything's being followed the way it should be followed. It's not because you're not accusing anybody. Nobody's accusing you. It isn't, we're not going in. It's not the Spanish Inquisition. We're not beheading people. We're trying to figure it out and get the game to the state that it should be in. So,
yeah. And if you're ever worried about that, you can use I or we type of language. If you're worried about upsetting your opponent or sounding aggressive, hey, I just want to make sure that we're playing quickly enough. Do you mind observing us for a little bit? Or, I'm not sure we're going to finish this match on time because of our pace of play. Those kind of things tend to soften the blow to an opponent that might not be as receptive as you would like. And that is a good way to but still assert yourself in those positions. What do you make of the whole the second paragraph of this? The first part was a lot of the time about clock. The second paragraph was, maybe I just need to get good, but the event left me feeling like the time limit mechanic sucks and the game would be much better. They talk about the chess thing. What do you, when someone says do I need to do the get good thing? What is that? What does that aspect of gaming do for you? What do you think about that?
It's a turnoff.
It's just a bad take, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, people play games for different reasons. But I think that first and foremost, playing a game because you enjoy it is the healthiest way in my mind to experience games. If it's immediately, being competitive is your most important thing, okay. Maybe don't walk in fresh off the street to an event like that and be ready for the time constraints. Don't, that preparation's on you. If you're going into it because you just want competition, you couldn't care less what the game is, or whether anybody has fun playing it, then, and I'm not saying that that's this person at all. I'm saying that that's this reflective of that attitude. Maybe be more familiar with how these time constraints work and how the mechanics of the game work before you walk into something that's a competitive event.
Yeah, I think I think expectations are definitely something that's going to reign supreme here. Play more games with friends that you, and for one thing, I appreciate the confidence of I'm going to go in, I'm going to play this thing that's open and available to everyone. That's definitely cool. Like, I hope more people feel willing with this game that they can do that. I don't want to discourage that with this thought. But if you're not sure what the environment will be like, or what, like if you haven't done any background looking into the tournament, maybe you should do that. What does a tournament in a card game look like? Like, do I feel like I could do that? When I play with my friends, does it take an hour and a half to play a game? Is that a reasonable expectation for me to have to be able to do when I go to a tournament? Like, if it takes you an hour and a half to play a game with your buddy, you're not going to get an hour and a half at a tournament. I don't think it's reasonable to think you are.
No.
So,
No.
it's about expectations, and making sure that, before you step into these situations that might be new, that you, do the front end work and see what it's about. Because I think at this point, there's enough resources on what tournaments are like across card games that some of these things could have been alleviated.
Yeah. An hour and a half. Like, are you doing a shot per point of damage or something? Like, that's egregiously long.
Well,
Right.
I mean, I mostly mean from, like, if and this player didn't say that, for what it's worth. I think I just mean from, like, if you just learn how to play the game from watching a YouTube video, it could take you a long time to, like, play your first few games.
I want to be very clear that comment was made to put it in your head that we should be playing Flesh and Blood for a shot per point, because that would be a blast for me.
We have to do it via Blitz, though. We can't do Classic Constructed.
That's true.
I'll die. I'll actually die.
Yeah.
No, we believe in you, Abby. I think that you'll be fine.
Oh my God,
As long as I play Jordan will die. I'll be fine.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I will. I will facilitate the booze part of it to watch that happen, because not that I want Jordan dead by any stretch, but just to watch him just get put under the table would be awesome.
Gosh, I'm soft too, so I really can't really be having that. And it does look like this from this thread specifically that this event was a 30-minute time control, so it was either Blitz or limited. And that, if that's your first, like, foray into that time control, it definitely can't feel quick. So I totally get that. And I don't want to seem like we're dunking on this person, because, like, this thread is, like, probably a really good, not warning, but just, like, a cautionary tale to people trying to get into the space of, like, be aware that there might be a little bit more to it than you think. And the time controls are important, and they exist for a reason on both sides. And I think they're actually pretty good how they are. So
yeah,
agreed. Agreed. All right, so we have 2 listener questions for this week's show. The first one is from Blitz Monkey, which is our friend Nick in our Discord. What are some things you've all learned play-wise in the last week or so that have helped you going forward?
Logan, you would take that one first?
Do you realize how many rules there are in this game? Like,
so many.
It's a lot, and some things just don't make a ton of sense, or you think they're one way pretty easily and you fail at it. And I think that Dominate and how instants work, like Somewhere with Shelter, where you're pumping the defense of something, just doesn't. It feels counterintuitive. Where you can only defend with one card from your hand. I'm going to defend with this card, then I'm going to use this other card from my hand, and it's like, wait a second, that's not how this works. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's an instant pumping, and it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
you're not defending with it, but
you are.
It is defending, so yeah.
Yeah, it has an awkward feeling to it, and once I kind of learned a lot of those little things, and that's been happening over the course of time, and then over the course of a longer period of time, it's honestly really engendering the thought process that your life total is a resource in this game, and which is, again, that's existed in most card games, where your life total is a resource, but even more so here, because again, going back to that play I talked about earlier, where the loud and proud Oldham player just no blocks, go to 2. If you got me, you got me. No awakening, go get footsteps, 14 you. That's using your life total as a resource. That's saying, okay, well, read the room. If you got me, but I don't think you got me. And knowing where your spots are to do that, and really leverage that resource is kind of where I've learned the most about this game so far. And I'm much better at 20 life formats than I am at 40 life formats.
Interesting.
But I mean, it's again because the 40 life resource it's a trap for my brain. My insect brain does not sees 40 and goes, "That's so much, man. I can take this shot." And
14, you okay? Well,
I'm at 26. Cool. I'm still fine. No, you're not. You're not fine. So that's where I need to get better. That I haven't been able to program it into me to understand that to treat 40 life and 20 life the same, in how you play the game to some degree. It's not exactly the same, but to use some of the same things I've learned in the 20 life formats and apply them to the 40 life formats, and don't just be like so cavalier about taking a 19 ball,
Right.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the things that I would like to better appreciate too is I come at it from the other way, where damage my opponent is dealing sounds like so much. Like, well, I have to block here. Do you really have to block here, or can you just like eat it and then do your own cool thing on your next turn? I've been playing a lot of, like I said, Bravo lately, and that concept of it takes my whole hand to do one thing a lot of time. So I'm either gonna have to break up my own game plan or take some damage, and making my brain work that way is really difficult. Especially coming from a game like Magic, where cards block and attack, but you don't have to functionally alter your next turn based on blocking or attacking. So one of the things that's helped me level up, I guess, not just this last week, but since we started playing, is that idea of thinking about your best turn. Then now, how can I still do that best turn, but with less resources? And what does that turn look like? Okay, now I can preserve my life total, or maybe I can't, and I just need to eat this one and go crazy on my own turn.
Well, it's pretty easy for you because I think we just found out that you've only been playing for a week since you lied to us about how long you've been playing.
Yeah, right. Do you even play this game?
Yeah, Jordan's actually never played a game before.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, I believe this podcast is about Yu-Gi-Oh! So
I think that's super important, though, Jordan. Like what you just said, like those little, and that's the thing about this game is, and I think I've said it on here before, and I know I've said it 1,000 times otherwise, that turn one matters. In most games, it doesn't, and in this one, it does. So those little incremental instances and steps is insane. Abby, what do you got?
I learned how to sort cards very well. No, I'm kidding. No, so for me, kind of opposite of Jordan, I've kind of basically since we started have just had the mentality of like, is the damage I'm going to take worse than like the perfect hand that I might have currently and like what it's going to look like. So that's always kind of just been easy for me. So a lot of what my plan is for, the once I get out of busy season at work and the go forward is really just learning how to play the rest of it. The majority of what we played has been Tales of Aria, since that's where we came in 3 months ago, not 6. But kind of just learning how everyone else plays. We've put together blitz decks of, we put together a data doll deck just to see what it did, which it was nothing. But just kind of playing everything to see, okay, so outside of the set that we came into, what do we like the most? And then kind of using that to get ready for the PTQs and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it sounds like we all have kind of like a path forward for this game, which is exciting to have like an actual goal or plan or like be aware of weaknesses. So that's a cool question from Nick. Nick's answer to his own question was he likes to remember, or one thing he was helping kind of guide this discussion is he mentioned that he likes to take one thing from each game and kind of like that he plays each week and kind of like muse on it during the week. Like when he played Katsu at this tournament, he was mentioning he felt like he did well in controlling their on hit triggers. And that was like one thing that he was like, okay, cool, I can do that well. Now I just need to like emulate that a bunch of times over. And that was a good example of like learning something, putting it into your brain over a period of time, and then like making that part of your arsenal of cards or of skills. And I thought that was a good answer to the question as well. If you have an answer, I think we'd all like to hear it. Like tweet at us, email us, Discord it. I think we'd like to hear that.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
Second question is from Griddlemaster, also in the Discord. What heroes do you find you enjoy / gravitate towards, and how does that correlate with your playstyle in other games? Jordan, you want to go first?
Sure. I have been playing a lot of Bravo. I'm really interested in Katsu, and I've also liked Briar in this game. I like the red line 0 spell Briar. So I am the problem. I do not know. I do know the answer. No, it is not correlated into my playstyle in other games. In Magic, I was a very mid-range focused person of play this long grindy game with a bunch of like middle average cards that have a 50-50 matchup against everything. And I don't feel like, and I'm not a combo guy, so like Katsu doesn't relate to that at all. This like play a big thing and attack with it once a turn style of Bravo isn't really something that I've done before. And I've never been like a super hyper aggressive player either. So the Briar is definitely out as well. So no, it really hasn't. And maybe that's part of my problem and why I've struggled a little bit more early on than I'd like with this game, because it is a deviation from my like typical strategies. But I have not. I do enjoy Oldhim a little bit, and I was a grindy like blue-white control player in Magic, and like doing the I'm going to sit here and try to do nothing for the next 45 minutes, and then I'm going to win. So like take a nap or something, and then we can meet up in 45 to an hour. So that kind of lines up a little bit, but otherwise not really.
Logan?
So best way that I can put this is I enjoy being a tricksy hobbit, and it's that way in every card game. So it's very similar for me. I like having spatial the wide open space to explore some odd angles, weird lines, weird ways of doing things to make something happen that your opponent doesn't expect. That is, in Magic, I'm mostly known for playing Affinity, which is a deck that is capable of killing you from any number of angles, and I have racked up a lot of kills on every angle. And then, in this game, I gravitate toward. I started playing Chain as the first thing because another Magic deck, Dredge, which is another just all the little cool things you can do with this deck, and you make the right decisions to flip, your deck into the graveyard. It's not much of a decision, honestly. Resonated with how Chain plays out of its banish zone, and I was just like, sweet, this is just something I've done before and something that I can just kind of gravitate towards. And then I started seeing all the little angles of it and how you can just do massive things in one fell swoop if you just stack everything up right. And that resonated with me. And then it got banned. But so in Limited, I'm known in the local, our local shops here for, I'm the guy drafting Lexi, almost always. And I will do some things that seem counterintuitive to people until they see why I did it. So, things like attacking with a Dazzling Crescendo with one card in hand, fusing with a card in hand, which is a lightning action, non-attack action. So I'm not attacking again. So why do I need go again? And then flipping a Coda Frost on somebody to give them the Frostbite trigger after combat, so they can't bust it with a defense reaction or bust it with something else. They still have it on their turn. And doing small little tweaks like that to throw off their rhythm, I find enjoyable. And that's, so I still gravitate towards that now. It hasn't changed. And other than that, in almost every game, I'm kind of that same Redline Briar guy where sometimes I just want to be done as quickly as possible, go hang out with my friends and have a drink. So burn, baby, burn. Let's go. That happens a lot.
As you were saying all that, I realized that for as long as we've known each other in this space, I don't know if we've ever played a game against one another of
No.
anything.
Of anything. Never once.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I was like, I didn't know any of that.
Nope.
Like, that's really funny.
Did you immediately Google my name and affinity and be like, what the hell was he doing?
What is I honestly had no clue. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm Googling your name and affinity now.
You're gonna see some weird shit.
There is there we go. All right. There's some guy in Phoenix, Arizona that has your name. It's a sales rep.
Fuck that guy.
He sounds like an
He's
asshole.
like Craig.
Gosh. Maybe we'll tell you guys about Craig someday.
Yeah. Abby, what about you? Like I know that you have a lot of L5R experience and I'm not as familiar with that game, but does this really kind of apply? Like is this similar in ways?
So kind of. So when Jordan and I first started playing, we bought the 4 Monarch Blitz decks. And then when Tales of Aria came out, we got all of that. And when we played the 4 Blitz decks, it was obvious that Shane was the best, like not close. And I didn't really fall in love with anyone. But the first when we got into Tales of Aria, Olden was the first character I was drawn to. And when I played L5R, I played a blue control deck, was basically what it was. So I wasn't surprised that was kind of where I landed. I enjoy playing all 3 of the heroes that came from Aria. I've had great experiences with all of them. And then I'm looking forward to starting to build up some of the decks with the heroes from previous expansions and start working through those to see kind of where I really fall with what I want.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, it's, and again, I think that there's going to be a lot of cross pollination as people come from other card games that they really enjoyed that didn't quite catch on, and they're going to find something to gravitate towards or to lock into with this game. And you know, it's up to the community, it's up to us, I guess. You know, however you want to put that, to be as welcoming as possible, right?
Yeah, I am excited for kind of working through the back and then taking that to kind of help bring in new people. Obviously, I have probably the most limited knowledge out of the 3 of us about the game, but like being able to speak to more of it is just going to help bring people to the game, and that's what it's all about for me. I'm the least competitive here. I just want to play, and I want other people to play, and I want everyone to have fun. And I know that that's not how it works in tournaments, but you know, that's what it is for me.
Great. Like, that's awesome. And I think that embracing that is perfect.
I do want to clarify that I am like 1 and X lifetime against Abby, so the idea that I am more
1000%.
knowledgeable is laughable. Only because I literally, and we've played a bunch of games together. Abby is like my main like testing partner, and she beats me 95% of the time.
Yeah, so it's not close usually either.
It's disgusting because I've done this my entire life, and Abby's like, yeah, I guess I'll do this with you to pass some time, and is really good at it. So
it just makes you look like a chump. That's fine.
That's exactly what it is, to be honest.
That's right. All right, so giveaway. We're still doing we're still in the first giveaway. Reviews or retweets need to be done by the 18th.
18th, yep.
18th to be entered for this one. We are giving away, it is a Blackfire convertible dual premium deck box. To clarify, it is a dual deck box and there are 3 compartments. I was given feedback on that last week that I said dual but then mentioned 3 compartments. So we'll hold 2 decks and then there's the little compartment in the middle. You can put snacks in it, some dice, maybe a pencil, whatever you want.
Can you put in there?
Whatever you want to put in there. That 3rd compartment is all for you.
Edibles? I don't fucking know.
What's snacks?
So you could put like mints or something in there. Listen,
Mints.
You're the one that gave me the feedback, so just listen. Okay? I'm correcting it for you because you didn't think that people would understand what I was saying.
No one's wondering who the married couple is now.
Jesus. The tweet to retweet's pinned on our Twitter.
Yes, and then you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or can you on Spotify? Or did we determine that you can't? Okay.
Right. Yeah, that was
not on Spotify.
we had a friendly person on Reddit point out, like, hey, I want to enter, but I have an Android, so how does this work? And that's why the Twitter retweet thing came in.
You can also like and subscribe on YouTube, right? Is that a way?
You have to send us the proofskis that you like the video. Proofskis, the proof?
Oh.
Did not translate as well as I'd hope to.
I thought it was literally like a pierogi, like something that you eat. Maybe like a delicious pastry stuffed with meat. I didn't know what that was. It sounded very Eastern European and delicious.
We should make those now. I want to
make some
who subscribes to our channel, but I can't see who's liked the video. So if you want to do it that way, and subscribe and like, just like shoot us a screenshot of that as well. Basically, we want to get people involved, and we realize that there's like a limited ways to do that. It's kind of complicated. So if you tell someone about our podcast or make it look nice or do something nice, we will consider you in this thing.
Absolutely. You can follow us on Twitter at FleshPod, and you can join our Discord. The link to the Discord will be in the show notes. And then obviously review us, like us, subscribe, retweet, all of that as your heart is content. Any questions, you can also email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com.
As always, you can find me at Logan Peterson. Remember, Petersen, because I spell it correctly, on Twitter. And also, I'm very active in the Discord. So if you want to point any questions at me about the variety of things I'm wrong about, feel free to tag me and I will always respond.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at I'mJorman. That's IMJORMAN. I'm probably going to change that to my name because it's just way easier. I'm also active in our Discord. I'm active on Twitter. If you can find me on the internet, I probably will respond to you there too. If you want to chat sports or flesh and blood or whatever you want. That is a good way to chat with me.
For me, you can tweet at FleshPod and someone will tell me because I'm not good at Twitter. If you're trying to reach out to me via Discord, if you do it from the hours of like 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., I'm probably not working and most likely to see it in a reasonable time frame. So then you'll get a more timely response. But thanks for listening. This was episode 2. And we will talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.